Greetings! Last year I did a video. I titled it 6 Life Tips from a 60-year-old because I turned 60 last year. Well, this year I'm obviously 61 years old, and last year, even though it was 2 weeks before I did the video, this year it's a little over a month. But that's okay, because I don't think it necessarily matters how close I am to a certain age to give certain life tips. I think it's more important that I help give life tips, because like I said last year, the idea is that the older you get, the more that you wish or hope to offer something to people who are younger that they may get something good out of. Things that we wish that we had known when we were younger and had taken some actions on it. And that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm also linking, you're probably going to see the eye at the top right corner where it will link you back to the video I did last year. But I covered 6 tips last year. And these are the 6 tips. And I had to write them down so I could remember what they were. Number 1 was to learn how to budget. Number 2 was to learn how to shop. Number 3 was to start putting money away early. Number 4 was to learn all you can from every employer you ever have. Number 5 was to start stretching and exercising earlier in life. And number 6 was to learn moderation. So check that video out, pick up a few more tips. This year I decided, since I'm a year older, I'm going to give an extra tip. So this is going to be 7 life tips. And let's see where we go with this. So the first one I'm going to give you is to learn how to relax. One of the problems that I still have after all these years is I don't really know how to relax. I try a lot of different things. I tried meditation. Meditation just didn't work for me. I sat down in a nice comfortable spot and I closed my eyes and I put my hands together, just sitting down. And I either thought about work, or I thought about things in the past that made me mad, or I thought about current news, or I thought about work, or I thought about articles I wanted to write. I just could not relax. I don't necessarily sleep well. I've never slept well. So I have to try to find other things. Now, oddly enough, I walk a lot. And when I get to walk outside of the house, that's actually relaxing. It relaxes my mind. Yes, my body is in motion, but truthfully, most of the time, I'm not even paying attention to the fact that I'm actually walking. I am just thinking about other stuff, and it's just somewhat calming. Now, when I'm not in the mood to be calm, then I'm listening to a recorded book. But, find ways that maybe you can find your way to relax. The only time I really relax, and it's something that the pandemic, which is what we're dealing with this year, messed up, is going to see a movie. Because that's the one time where actually I can sit down in a different place and just remove myself of all reality for a while. You're in an enclosed space, it's dark, and you're concentrating on the movie because you don't want to miss anything, especially if it's the movie that you've been looking forward to seeing. So find different ways to relax that don't involve beer, that don't involve alcohol. I'm just saying, if you can do it without a stimulus like that, then you're going to be way ahead of the game. Number 2, keep your teeth healthy. Now, I'm not going to lie. I never have liked going to the dentist. Even now that I have a nice dentist, I'm not necessarily always happy to go. Why? Because when they do the cleaning, when the lady gets that hook and she's doing whatever, it hurts. I'm not going to lie. It always hurt. It has always hurt when they did that. And I am missing 4 teeth. Now, I had a couple of wisdom teeth taken out, but I've had a couple of other teeth. And I never thought anything about it. When I had to go to the dentist way back in the day, the second time, I don't remember the first time. I really don't, except for the fact that before the guy put me out, he came in, I met him, and I said, hey, this guy sounds like Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers will never hurt me. And so I had that done, but I was a kid, so to speak. And my dad took care of that one. But when it was my turn, the lady said, well, we can do one of 2 things. We can do a root canal, or we can pull the tooth. And I said, okay, what's the difference? She says, well, the root canal is $450, and if we pull the tooth, it's $45. That was an easy decision to make. And I did that with the other tooth as well. The wisdom tooth, those were a little bit different, but still, I thought that was just the way to go. Big deal, I got other teeth. What I'm learning now is that the spaces that are now missing from those places are actually hurting other teeth. I'm not someone who eats hard food. I really don't. But the dentist told me, yeah, you've got cracks in different teeth because what happens is that they have to kind of make up for the spaces that are empty, not the wisdom teeth, but the other spaces. And so there's different cracks in your teeth. She said that happens to everybody. I said, well, how come no one ever said that? She says, because back in the day, that's not something that they told anybody. They just gave you the option. To which I started thinking, well, you know, when you pulled one of my teeth, which it was a wisdom tooth, I'm just thinking you didn't say anything about, well, if we pull this tooth, this or that, but it's different for wisdom teeth. So you have to take care of your teeth. You have to go to the dentist. You have to get them clean. If they've got to put fillings in, let them put those fillings in. And you know what they do? Something I didn't know until a few years ago is that sometimes they got to take those fillings out and put another one in, because fillings are not a forever thing, it turns out. This is just how it is. You keep your teeth healthy so that you can continue eating all your good foods, or you could end up with dentures or partials or whatever. I mean, I have my one root canal that I had to have done. That I still have a tooth there, but that was because I started having some pain, and it was just the only thing that they could do for it. But at least I have most of the other teeth. I do what I can. Keep your teeth healthy. Trust me on this one. Number 3. This one's going to sound odd, but I'm going to explain something about it. Think about getting long-term health insurance. Now, I'm too old for this now. I just am. There's just nothing I can really do about it unless I had a bunch of money to put in for a monthly premium or a yearly premium. But think about long-term health insurance. This has come about because I take care of my mother. Now, mom is kind of covered because she's got me. But I have nobody. I'm recently divorced. I have no siblings. I have cousins, but, you know, I don't really know them all that well. The one cousin I actually do know well is about 10 years older than me. So, you know, I get another 10 years or 5 years. She's not going to be taking care of me. And what you find out is that if it's just you and you're living in a house or apartment or whatever, if something really happens, they're going to come and get you. Doesn't matter what state you're in, they're going to take you somewhere and put you in a facility. And that's it. You lose any freedom whatsoever. You lose any freedom of choice that you ever used to have. Gone. One of the things that long-term health insurance will do for you is it will allow you to stay in your home or stay in your apartment, because long-term health insurance, when you get to a certain age, will pay for people to come in and take care of you or to look in on you or do whatever. It's always better being in your own space. Look at this. I mean, I'm in my house. I got, you know, lucky on that one. So I'm still in the house. And having my mother in this house is a lot easier than, one, if we were in an apartment, or two, if I wasn't around and they had put her in a facility. I mean, it's just COVID, or whatever this thing is called, the pandemic, has proven that you're better off if you can take care of your loved one than have them in a nursing home. There's a lot of people whose relatives passed away in a nursing home and they hadn't been allowed to see them all across the country. Long-term health insurance is one of those kind of things where if you start early, where you're young enough, where you don't have to pay a ton of money into it, you could earn 10 to 15 years worth of an insurance company paying for someone to come to your house to help take care of you. It's just something that a lot of people don't talk about. I never heard of it. If you want to know the truth, I heard about it maybe 10 years ago, and I figured, well, you know, I've got all these other things covered. You know, I've got, you know, money coming from, I just had money come from different things, and I was still married. You know, you don't know what's going to happen somewhere else. So I always thought that at least I'd have someone around to help me for the most part. But truth be told, even if I was married, if she passed away before me, then what happens to me? My friends are my age. Actually, I'm the youngest out of most of my friends. So that wasn't going to happen. So think about long-term health insurance. Just think about it. And then buy some. There it is. There's a recommendation. Now, here's number 4. Think deeply about why you do or don't want a house. I had never wanted a house. I had been a military kid. I got used to living in these, apartment type places. I had always lived in apartment type places, except the year when my dad went to Vietnam, and we lived in this gigantic house in Kansas City with my grandmother. And then when I graduated college, my parents had a house built, and I lived with them for a couple of years after that before I got my own apartment. But, apartment living was great. And then what happened? I got married, and then my wife decided we needed a house. And so we got a house. And I'm not going to lie, I got to like the house. It's a ranch, but it's 5 bedrooms. And now it's just mom and me in a 5-bedroom house with basically a full basement. And it's just tons and tons and tons of stuff. And yes, what the house is worth has appreciated. So yes, it's gotten worth more than it was when I bought it. As a matter of fact, it's gone about 55 or 60% higher than it was when we bought it. But to actually get it to that level where I would get that kind of money if I needed to sell it, I still got a lot of things that have to be done in this house. And I am not one of those people who knows how to do a lot of stuff. I'm scared to use the hammer because I'm afraid of hurting my fingers because I was a piano player. And, of course, now I write, which means I type a lot. I'm great with a screwdriver. Painting, I'm probably the last person who probably needs to be using paint. I am not a home repair guy for the most part. I have my couple of things that I can figure out. Luckily, we have YouTube where you can look things up, but boy, it takes a lot. But if you're someone who's looking to have a family, you want kids, and I mean more than one, you might want a house. You might want to have the space to take care of a family like that. If it's a place that you're looking and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to be in this neighborhood and I love this neighborhood, then, that's something about thinking about a house. But just because someone else says you need a house, that's a bad idea. And, if you're going to be with someone and you're not married to them, boy, that's a tough one. I'm thinking that may not be something you want to do either. Because if something happens and one person has to leave, the other person might be in a position where you're going to have to now take out another loan so that you can pay this person off. And now you've got bigger payments on this house that maybe you didn't want in the first place. It's just something you really need to think about. Think deeply before you become a homeowner. Take my word on that one. Number 5. Give thought about self-employment versus traditional job. Self-employment's not for everybody. Heck, even though I've been self-employed for 19 years, I'm not necessarily going to say that it's all, I was going to say cookies and cream, but you know what? I've never had cookies and cream, so I don't know what that is. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's Oreos, which has this cookie and a cream in it. I don't know. But here's the thing. Overall, I have made more money being self-employed than I did when I was working for someone else. I have traveled all over the country. Haven't gone out of the country, which truthfully I really don't want to. But I've been all over the country. I've been to places I never thought I was going to go. I've been to places I never wanted to go. Just to throw that in there. But I've had certain adventures that I never would have had if I had stayed working with one particular company. But here's the other side. You don't get vacation pay. You don't earn sick pay. You don't get a pension if you're self-employed. Yes, you should be putting some money away, which I did for a very short period of time. And then when the market was crashing in 2008, and my investment dropped drastically to a point where it was 75% below what I started with. Not what I had gained, but it was 75% below what I initially started with when I decided to pull my money out of that. Now, had I left it there, had I been in a position to just leave it there, my money probably would have been fine. Matter of fact, it definitely would have been fine. But you don't know that at the time, especially when as that crashed, then so did my opportunities for, some of the gigs that I'd been able to get before had crashed. Now, later on that year, I got a gig, and it worked out okay. And had I been able to make it through that period of time where my money dropped so much, then I probably still would have been okay. But you just never know. The person I had who was managing my money, he left his company and nobody told me. It was just a fluke one day where I opened up a letter that came, and I said, oh, wait a minute, what happened to my money? And then I tried to call the guy, and he wasn't there. No one was there. No one answered the phone. And I went through some back channels to find out that he had left the industry. Man, that doesn't mean you shouldn't invest, but it definitely means that, you should stay on top of your money. Anyway, getting back to self-employment. What you do, you don't just one day up and say, you know what, that's it, I'm done. You need to plan for it, but you need to think about it, because there's the things that you that you definitely need to learn. You need to learn how to market. It was something I never knew because I always worked in hospitals. And most of the time it was the hospitals where it's the only hospital in the area. Those folks don't have to market. If someone gets sick, they're going to that one place. So I had to learn that. I had to learn how to write marketing material. I never really learned how to use the telephone to call people because I knew how hospitals worked. Ain't none of those people answering the phone. They just don't. But you learn how to make alliances with other people who will do that kind of work. And that really is, one of those kind of things. But that was my business. For everyone else, if you can make the same money working for yourself than you were making for someone else, that's not a bad thing to do. You get a little bit more free time. Yes, you have to be a lot more diligent. You have to be a lot better at planning your time. But it may not be the worst thing in the world. I know someone who, when she was first self-employed, one of the things she did is she basically got out of her lease for her apartment and she traveled the country for an entire year while being able to do her job. Why? Because she could do everything from a laptop. She would go into a hotel and she would use the Wi-Fi, or go into a Barnes & Noble or something like that, use their Wi-Fi, but she basically traveled the country. Her clients did not know that she was not at home because she never gave a home address. She had a cell, so the number they called was her cell number. It's just something where you could have a year of liberation and you can do other things. I enjoy being at home. But the other side is I wish that I had more socialization with people, because when I worked with people, I enjoyed going to work every day and working with the folks I did. But you don't have that being self-employed. There's different options, of course, but I'm not getting into all that. I will just say that it's something to think about. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, because it's not, but it's something to think about. Number 6, don't be afraid to go and visit a doctor. This one is tough because, truthfully, this is how I grew up. My dad never went to the doctor, except for times where it was so crucial that he had to go. I never went to see a doctor until it was times where it was crucial for me to go see a doctor. There are a lot of injuries that I had that I never went to a doctor for. I hurt my back really bad, I think before I turned 30, and I never went to see a doctor for it. Now, my kind of saving grace was that I worked in the hospital, so after a few days, I had a whole lot of techie people like, what happened to you? What did you do? And I had some folks who offered some services that they probably shouldn't have done, but they wanted to try to help me to relieve some of my pain. And it was probably maybe 2 years after I had hurt myself that I finally went to a doctor. And of course, they wanted to do an operation. I didn't want to do that. So I had some physical therapy. Actually, I had physical therapy 10 years after I had the accident. That shows, how stubborn you can be. I could have had that taken care of years earlier. I also found out that I was diabetic the same month that I got married. And the thing is, I probably should have been seeing a doctor all along, but I hadn't seen a doctor at that point in maybe 6 or 7 years. And I might have known that I was getting to that level. But, you know, it happens. My dad, like I said, he did the same thing when I was growing up, and so I got hurt or something. Dad would say, rub dirt on it. Well, that's what he had learned. You know, don't really rub dirt on it. That is just a phrase. But going to see a doctor on some kind of regular basis will help you to find different things out. You know, colon cancer turns out to be one of those that's very painful. And I never would have known that. Luckily, I didn't have colon cancer. I waited a very long time before I went for a colonoscopy, and it didn't necessarily work out all right. You know, I'm going to link to a video talking about that. But I was fine. It's just that the colonoscopy didn't quite go the way that it had gone for everyone else I ever knew who had one. Because, you know what? My life just ain't normal. That's just how it is. But don't be afraid to go to the doctor. If you have insurance, if you don't have insurance, contact your doctor or medical facility, you know, clinic or something like that. Get checked out. Let people help you to help yourself. It's important. It's not just important for you, it's important for your family. And it's important enough for your friends. At least you'll know. It's always better to know and then be able to sit back and try to make some decisions rather than to kind of go around ignorant and then find out, sorry, you got this, and it's too late to do anything about it. That doesn't help anybody. And here's the last one. And oddly enough, I think this is probably more important than the other things I've given you. This is number 7. Solidify your circle of good friends. I don't mean, you know, everyone. I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh, I've got tons of friends. I have tons of friends. If you have tons of friends, that means you probably don't have any good friends. Good friends are the ones who have your back at any time, no matter what it is. Good friends are moving friends. You know, just say it like that. I have a lot of people that I know that I'm friendly with. But good friends, that's a very, very small circle. These are the people who you can talk to about different things. These are people you can go to for different things. You get invited to the family parties because now you're included as part of the family. Those are folks who, for instance, I have a couple of friends who, if something happened to me, will at least temporarily watch my mother until they can get, you know, one of the other family members to come up and take care of her for a longer period of time. I mean, that's really what you need. You need your solid, really good friends. You need to have certain people who you're going to name as the executor of your will. Or the people who are going to be your healthcare proxy if you're not married. You know, like I said, I'm not anymore, so I have to designate another healthcare proxy. You just need to have that solid group of people. If something really bad happens, maybe something happens to someone in your family, you're really depressed. Well, those folks are the ones who know, and those are the folks who are going to come to your aid and to your comfort level. You just need to know who that is, and you need to solidify it. And you know, I can sit here right now, I can tell you that almost all of my really good friends, I've known for at least 20 years. I've got some who probably, you know, 10 years here and there, but overall, my solid circle of friends is very small, but I've known them for a long time. And at any moment, if I feel like being on the phone, which is rare, but if I feel like it, I can pick up the phone and call them, and you start talking, and it's just like it was yesterday. You can never do anything better than having that solid group of good friends. I'm just saying. Anyway, there's 7 life tips on top of the 6 I gave last year. Let me know your thoughts. I hope this is helpful. I hope the other videos are helpful or entertaining, whichever way you want to look at it. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Let me know your thoughts. Y'all take care.